Hi everyone, uh, welcome to this presentation of Retail Management Hero. Today we are going to look at navigation and user access. So we will be having a quick overview of the product, how you can move around the product, how you can log in and do various things on the POS and in the back office. So let's get started. This is Mustafa Hussain and I'm the Director of Training and Education for Retail RAM. And I'll be taking you through this presentation today. Just before we start and talk about anything else and see anything else, let me just quickly remind you of the disclaimer. Whatever I'm going to show you today is under NDA, and some of it may not be, some of the functionality may not be present in the final release of the product. So we should keep that in mind. And also some of the software that I'm going to show you today may have issues and bugs, because I'll be using beta release 2 for this presentation. So just keep that in mind. So today's agenda, quickly we are going to go over the product overview, and we are also going to look at navigation and user access. So it will be a quick presentation. So we will be looking at some quick features. So let's get cracking. So to access the POS or access the manager, you can do it using the icons. So these are the three icons that will get installed on your desktop when you install Retail Management Hero. One is for Store Manager, the other one is for Store Administrator, and the POS. So today we are going to be looking at the manager and the POS. If you want to look at installation and setup, there are other videos on our website, rmhpos.com. So please go and have a look at those videos on our portal. So first of all, I'm going to take you through the back office manager. So to access the back office manager, you can just double click on the application, click on yes, and it should take you to the back office manager program. Now right now I'm using the beta 2 application, and I'm using version 1.21 of the back office manager, and it does not require login, so just keep that in mind. So once you log in, you will see that you will see a navigation pane on the left hand side. So the very first part of the navigation pane is merchandising, and under merchandising all the functionality around items, item properties, setting up of items, department categories, discounts, and so on and so forth. We also have some wizards here. So you have advanced wizards, label wizards, and inventory wizards. And if you want to look at any of these functionality in more detail, please refer to our other videos online. We also have other sections like customers. So when you want to access these other sections, just click on the section and that will be your highlighted section. So under inventory and purchasing, we have all the suppliers, purchase orders, inventory transfers, invoice, credit notes, and physical inventory. And if you look at any historical purchase orders or transfers out or transfers in, you can see this from the history section. We also have tools. So right now anything you just see in red is not implemented, so if you click on it, nothing happens. So under tool you have backup database. So if you want to back up the RMH POS database, then you can do that from here. Under setup, this is our one-stop setup section. So every setup, everything to do with configuring the system is under this section. So depending on what you want to set up and use, you can go ahead and set up that part of the system in this section. And again, if you want to look at the setup video, you can go on our website to look at the setup video where we talk about the setup in detail. Then we have the report section. So under the report section, we have all the reports that are available with the back office. So again, if you want to access the reports, you can access it under the report section. If you want to look at the configuration, you can click on the file uh, tab. So I am clicking on the file tab at the top, and under configuration is where all the configuration for the system wide parameters are available, like the store details, ordering rules, inventory rules, and so on and so forth. So most of it you will see that these tabs are from RMS, but some of them are related to the new functionality that is now going to be available in Retail Management Hero. So for example, advanced item setup, um, unit of measure, which is used in advanced purchase order processing, and so on and so forth. But the basic setup, like the store rules, rounding rules, and so on and so forth, are available through file configuration option. Now let's have a look at going into different sections. For example, I'm going to use the item screen. So when I click on the item screen, it opens up the item data on the right hand side, and as well as at the top it will open all the context sensitive menu at the top as well. So when you move around different sections in the system, you will see that these buttons will change. Not all of them, some of them will change, some of them will be uh, consistent throughout the system. Okay, so let's talk about some of these buttons here. So you have new. So if you want to create a new item, edit. So if you want to edit the item that is currently selected, copy if you want to copy and create a new item from an existing item, or delete. We all know what delete will do. Delete will delete the current selected item or current selected record. Then we have some context sensitive menus like labels and movement report. So labels, you can print labels from this menu. Movement report, you can print movement report from this menu. Refresh is to refresh the screen. So if somebody has created data from another screen, then they can click on then I can click on refresh and refresh data on this screen. I can add a filter. So if I wanted to add a filter to my screen, I can go ahead in the filter, and I can use any of these fields. So basically all these fields that are available for me to set up a filter. I can then set up a filter, and I will only see the records that matches that filter. I can remove the filter by clicking on remove, and I can also use some basic filter like is item active, inactive, or all. So how do you want to see the item? Print will allow me to print this screen or any screen. So print is one of those screens that allows us to print any screen that you're on. So this is one of the additional features that you will now have in RMH, is that instead of going into reports or printing reports, you can just print straight away from any screen. Similarly, you can export to Excel. So if you click on export to Excel, I have already exported a file using this function, or I can even export to PDF. So if I click on export to PDF, then I can generate a file, PDF file of the screen that I am on. Then I've got some additional options. These are the list options. So I can go into settings and I can set some of these details for my grid. See, things like show me the search box, is filtering allowed, group by, and so on and so forth. So there are a few additional settings that I can use. I also have layouts, so I can go in and use this layout screen to show or hide any fields. Use autofit function, so I can autofit the data so I don't need to expand, and fix. So if I want to make certain column fixed that are always visible on the screen, no matter if I scroll to the right, then I can make it fixed. I can refresh filter, I can memorize, so I can memorize either the layout or the settings. So if I wanted to save anything to my personal preferences, I can do that. I can use find. Find is a nice function to find anything on any screen. So I can go ahead and say find what, and this will change depending on which screen you are in. So you can, in this case, you can select any of these fields that are available. So what are you finding or what are you looking for? You can select the field and then click on find first or find next, and it will find the data that you're looking for. And also you can either look for beginning of the field, any part of the field, and whole field. You can even use match case. So if you want to have an exact phrase including the case, upper or lower case, then you can do that using match case. So there are a lot of additional functionality that is going to be now available in Retail Management Hero back office. This is nothing that you need to configure. These are all available straight out of the box for every screen that you're on. So if you are in items, or if you are, for example, in customers, you can see that these options will be available straight away. The only thing that will change is the context sensitive menu. So sometimes you will have that, sometimes you won't, depending on what you are using currently. The other thing that I would like to bring your attention to is that you will see that every screen that you open opens up as a tab, as a new tab. So if you go into accounts, so you will see that it has opened up a new accounts tab. If you go into anything else like items, it will open a new tab there. So you will always have some tabs open that you're working on, so you can do multitasking pretty easily. So here you can see I'm moving across different tabs. If you want to close a tab, you can go on the right and click on this cross to close the tabs. If you want to close the application, the entire application, you can click from the top and it closes the entire application. If you want to minimize the ribbon, you can use this little tab here to minimize or expand the ribbon at any given time. So this is a quick overview of the user interface. There are quite neat functions in there. You can benefit from some of these functions straight out of the box, and you can utilize some of these additional features. Like for example, if you want to group any of the fields, you can simply drag and drop under drag column, and it will group your entire grid by that field. So right now I'm doing by cost, so it is grouped by cost. I can drag it back to my main screen and the grouping is gone. So similarly, I can do it for available quantity, for example, and it will group everything by available quantity. So this is again a nice neat feature that allows me to group any field. Now just to also show you a drill down, so if I go into an item by double clicking on that item, this is an item screen. So you will see that a lot of information is similar to what you used to have in RMS. It will have some new features, new tabs, but what I really want to show you in this presentation is some of the new functionality at the top of the screen. So you have save and close. So if you have made any changes and you want to save and close, you can go ahead and click on save and close. If you want to save your current work but you keep on editing, then you can click on save and edit, or save and new. So if you have finished working on this item and now you want to save and create a new item, then it will create a new blank screen straight away. You can refresh, so refresh just loads the most current data from the database. You can click on new or delete, and you can even make this section is for suppliers, so you can create a new supplier or delete a supplier or go in and set up a primary supplier if you wanted to. You can also manage supplier costs, so you can add a man supplier cost, and you can also go straight to functions like labels or movement report for this item. I can also do some scrolling. So for example, if I want to go into the next item, I can just keep on clicking and it takes me to the next item. Or if I want to go straight to the last item, then I can use the last item. Or if I want to go to the first item, I can click on the first icon. So this way I can move around items. I don't have to go back, look for the item and double click on the properties to drill down into it. I can just use this scrolling or navigation option to do that. And if I finished working on this item, I can click on close, and close will close that screen. So this way there are some few nice functionality that we have made available in RMH that allows you to use the system efficiently and do some of the things straight out of the box. Things like exporting any grid to Excel or PDF, or printing any of the grids as a report, for example. So that was a quick overview of the back office. Let's now look at the POS and see how the POS looks like, how you can log in, and how you can use the POS in terms of where things are, and so on and so forth. So let's go into the POS. I'm going to close the manager. When I close the manager, it gives me a confirmation message. I'm going to say yes, and it allows us to cancel. It allows us to close the manager program. So depending on what screen you are on, sometimes it doesn't close the manager program. Depending on what screen you're open, you might be still editing something on the grid, so it doesn't allow me to close the manager program. So I'm just going to minimize it for time being. Let's go into the RMH POS. So I'm just going to double click on the POS. So when I run the POS program, the first thing you will see is the login screen. So I'm going to go ahead and use my login. And once I've entered the password, you can see that it logs me straight into the POS. Now let's first talk about the structure of the POS and where things are and the information that you can see. So let's start from the top. This is the resolution of your POS screen. So right now my resolution is defaulted to 1024 by 768. If for whatever reason, if you want to change the resolution to smaller resolution, or if you want to increase the resolution, you can do that using this drop down. So I'm going to keep it at 1024 by 768. Then you have the version number. So the application version for POS is 1.2.50, and the database that I'm connected to. So it's local /RMS sample database, RMH sample database. I'm connected to register 1, so it shows me the register 1, and I'm logged in as Tony Brandy. So right now it shows me the name of the cashier as well. And on the right hand side, it shows me the system time. So whatever the system time is on the POS. Then on the left, you have the transaction screen, which is the default option, or the internet screen. So we have a browser in there that you can use. So quickly looking up the catalog, the store catalog, or any other things that you might want to look up rather than going into the Internet Explorer or Chrome. You can switch between the two at any given time. So if you want to switch between transaction or internet browser, you can do it from the left hand side. On the right hand side, we have the custom commands. So right now the idea is that these will be the custom POS buttons. So you can activate or call any third-party applications or any internal commands using these custom POS buttons. So things like gift card balance or customer loyalty. So as and when we add these functionality to the system, you will be able to access through custom POS buttons. So this section is custom POS button. We will obviously also have custom action, so you can write your own custom POS commands. At the top, you have the search screen, so you can start searching anything. If you want to search for oil, all you need to do is type. So the search looks for item lookup code, description, alias, department category, or combination of any. So right now when I search for oil, it went ahead and found these two items in the database. So if I want to sell something, I can tap on it and it selects the line, and I can click on select. Now keep in mind that the available quantity for this item is 0. So if I click on select, it will tell me that it is out of stock, and it gives me a few options. So do I want to look for substitutes, accept, so I may want to go ahead and sell it, or I can back order this item, and I can even cancel if I don't want to sell it. So I'm going to go ahead and click on accept, and it adds the item to the transaction. So when it adds the item to the transaction, it gives me few details. So code, name, price, quantity, extended price, tax, and the sales rep. So as and when I add the item, it will add the items to the transaction. So what are these icons here? This is telling me that I'm in the sales mode. If I'm in work orders, it will change. So right now it is under the default, which is the sales mode. This icon here allows me to change the order in which the new items are added to the transaction. So right now it is ascending. Ascending means new items are added at the bottom. So if I were to go ahead and add a new item here, so let's go ahead and add milk. Milk is also out of order, but I'm out of stock, but I'm going to go ahead and accept, and you can see that now milk is added below the first line. If I click on it again, this is a toggle, so if I click on it again, the order of scanning changes. So if I go ahead and add bread to this transaction, you will see that now bread has been added to the top of the transaction. So this way we can toggle the way in which new items are added to the transaction, either ascending or descending, depending on how you want to do it. And of course this is a toggle, so you can change it at any given time. You can also sort using these columns by tapping on the column and changing the way you want to sort the transaction. This icon here is for roll up. And what is roll up? So you may scan the same item at different times on the POS, and if you want to show that item on the transaction in one line rather than showing in multiple lines, then you can use the roll up. So right now the roll up is set to nil or none. It shows me a red icon here. So, and also if you see, the tooltip says there is no roll up right now. So if I go ahead and scan another milk and click on accept, it adds it as two lines. But what if I'm going to click, and again this is a toggle, so if I'm going to go ahead and click on the toggle, now item roll-ups are enabled. So if I go ahead and click on milk again and click on accept, you will see that it has added the new scanned item to an already scanned line of milk. So this way it will keep on adding the item to the same line rather than adding a new line every time you scan the same item. So this is again a nice feature that was not available before. We have it now. It's called item roll-up. So these two options are toggles, and it will allow you to change how you want to change the behavior on the POS. Then at the bottom right now we have this information screen. This may or may not be in the final release, but right now it tells me some basic details about this POS from the database. Then I have the totals. So I've got the total for this transaction, the tax for this transaction, and the subtotal for this transaction. So I can see exactly what is going on with this transaction. One thing that I have used so far is I've used a physical keyboard to do all these entries, but we also have a virtual keyboard, and you can access it by clicking on this icon here. So again, that is a toggle. So if you want to see it, you can click on it. If you click on it again, then it kind of collapses and it doesn't show that part. But we have a full-fledged keyboard that can be enabled or disabled through clicking on the keyboard option at the bottom. Scan or enter quantity is always the focus. So if you scan anything or you start typing in, it will always land up into this box. So it allows you to have a consistent user experience. You can start typing or start searching or even scanning from the same place. Now let's have a look at these function keys at the bottom. So what we have done is we have rolled up all the related function keys into one. So you don't have to bother looking for functions. You don't have to click on function keys, shift F1 to F12 or control F1 to F12 and so on and so forth. You can just simply go into the sections that you want. If you want to go to customers, you can go into customers. If you want taxes, you can go into taxes and so on and so forth. So let's see what we have under items. Under items we have lookup items. So when you go in there, you will see the list of all the lookup items, all the items in your database. So right now I can see that there is a filter on, and it shows me 2 records. But what I can do is I can click on clear filter, and then it shows me the list of all the items I have in the database. I can look up, search for new items, or if I want to sell this item, I can go ahead and select, click on select, and it will add it to my transaction. If I want to clear items, I can go ahead and clear items. So this will get rid of all the items on the transaction. Or if I want to delete any items, I can select those items and click on delete, and that will remove the items from the transaction. Lookup matrix items is interesting because we have changed the user interface of how you look up matrix item. So it gives you the list of all the matrix items in your database, and then it allows you to select what you want to sell. So this is a cycle, so kit cycle. So first of all, what is the wheel size or height, and what is the color? So I can select my matrix variants or components using this interface, and then as soon as I've selected all the variants, it gives me the information about that variant on the right hand side. So full details, how much I have in stock, what is committed for it, retail price, is it on sale, not discountable, last sold, and so on and so forth. So it gives a lot of information rather than just simply showing me a box with all my matrix component in there without any details. So I can go ahead and click select, and it adds my matrix component to the transaction as well. If I want to complete the transaction, I can go under transaction, and under transaction I have got tender sale. Now one thing you will notice is that some of the key shortcuts are kept in RMH as well. So if you want to go into tender sale, you can click on F12 at any given time, and it gives you the tender screen. And let's say this one I want to pay by cash, and plus shortcut is also working. So if you click on plus, it expects the exact amount, it opens the cash door if it needs to. There is no change right now, but I can go ahead and click close, and I'm ready for the next transaction. So that is how you can scan an item, look up an item, clear item, delete items, and then finally complete the transaction. So let's have a look at other functions we have. So you have lookup customer. If you want to look up a customer, you can go ahead and look up a customer. If you want to edit or add a new customer or even clear a customer, you can do that using these functions. Payment to account, so if you want to pay something on account, you can do that. If you want to toggle taxes, you can go into the taxes menu and you can start using that function. Under transactions, we have a lot of options. Transaction comments, recall transactions. So if you want to recall transactions, you can do that. So recall transaction from hold, recall transaction for return, and recall transaction for voiding. I also have return, sale, and no sale. So if you want to do any of those functions, you can do that from there. Sales rep. So if you want to select a sales rep, clear a sales rep, or you want to select a current item sales rep, and so on and so forth, you can do that using this menu. You can put a transaction on hold. You can also go into the journal. So let's go into the journal. So if you want to go into the journal, you can go into journal functions and then click on journal, and it takes you to the journal. Now although the basics work similar to what we had in RMS, but things have slightly changed. So you can search, first of all, you can search transactions in your journal. You can go to first and next receive, and you can scroll using the first, next, last, or previous receipts. If there are pages, multiple pages, you can go into previous page and next page, and it gives you the details about that transaction on this section. I can click on print, so I can use the Windows printer 1, 2, or I can even use any Windows printer that might be installed here. I also have an ability to to print gift receipt and email receipt if I wanted to do that from here. Under orders, we have all the different types of orders that we support: quote, work orders, layaways, recall. So you can recall a quote, recall a work order, recall layaway, and so on and so forth. You can make payments, so you can make a deposit to layaway. And if you want to look at the order details like order comments, order due date, and deposit override, you can do that under orders, order details. Discounts, so we have a section for discounts. So if you want to do any ad hoc discounts, discount from minimum price, from retail price, and so on and so forth. So all the discounts section is available under discount. Anything to do with your shift can be done under batch. So your opening amount, closing amount, X report, uh, uh, print X report. So you can also view X report as well as print X report, Z report, double Z report, and so on and so forth. So you can do all of that under batch. And under secure, you can log in, log out, or you can use manager override. So if you want, you can use manager override. So if you are a cashier, if a cashier is logged in with minimum permission, they don't have any permission to change price, for example, then they can use manager override for the manager to log in and start using or start making changes to the pricing, and then the cashier can complete the transaction. If you want to close the POS, you can hit escape. It asks you for a confirmation, and you can go ahead and click on yes to close the POS. So this was a quick overview and navigation overview of RMH back office and the POS. I hope you enjoyed this presentation, and keep an eye on other presentations and other videos on rmhpos.com. Thank you very much for your time.